Chair, it's a pleasure to be able to lead this debate on fiscal support for our country's great rural pubs. And while today is about fiscal support, it really is a debate about our heritage. And to demonstrate that, I'd like to take honourable members here today on a pub crawl around my constituencies. We have if one or you were to come to Meriden Solihull East, we have the historic Grade 2 listed malt shovel in Barston, dating back to the late 15th or early 16th century, which is widely regarded as one of the oldest pubs in the borough of Solihull. There's also the Queen's Head in Meriden, which was a former 17th century coaching inn. We would then move on to Hampton in Arden, where there's the White Lion, another 17th century pub with traditional architecture. I should at this stage say I don't actually drink, so I'm happy to drive members if they come. From Hampton and Arden, we would then travel to Catherine de Barnes, where there is the excellent boat, which has a tremendous beer garden for sunny afternoons. In Dorridge, there's the Railway Inn, which is right next to the station and often serves hard-working commuters after a long day's work. And there's also the Forest in Dorridge, which is a 19th century coach house just by the train station, serving tremendous food and drink with great rooms for weary guests. There's also the Drum and Monkey, my local, a famous country pub with a history dating back to the 1860s. And then, after all of that, we would end up in the historic village of Knowle, where I want everyone with me. In the village, there are a number of pubs that we could choose from, but we would have a couple that I've selected, like the Wilson's Arms, which is a Toby Carvery now. It's a historic 16th century pub with timber frames and excellent Sunday lunches, as well as the Red Lion, right on the high streets with great food and drinks. And I picked Knowle to end because this weekend we are celebrating the 750th anniversary of the village. And I pay tribute to all those who make the village the special place that it is. Visit Knowle, the Knowle Society, the various publicans, and of course our residents. To them, I say thank you. Community, character, and identity. This is what our rural pubs represent. And this is why they are worth fighting for, and why I'm here today, concerned at the impact of the government's policies on our rural pubs. I will, of course, start by talking about the economic importance and the contribution that they bring to the economy, especially for rural areas. And there is no doubt that the UK's pub and brewing sector plays an enormous role in rural constituencies across the UK. Rural pubs provide jobs and huge economic value. According to the British Beer and Pub Association, the pub and brewing sector supports over 300,000 jobs in rural constituencies in the UK. And combined, rural pubs and breweries contribute almost £11 billion to the economy and generate £7 billion in tax. In addition, those rural pubs, as I've already outlined, are steeped in all their history and heritage, attracting tourism from across the country and the world. And tourism is estimated to be responsible for around 1/3 of employment in rural pubs. And make no mistake, people come from all over the world to spend time in the great British countryside and enjoy the excellent food and drink that we put out in our great pubs. In all of our constituencies, but particularly for members gathered here from rural seats, the influence of pubs in our constituencies is enormous. And for me personally, I'm immensely proud of the pubs in Meriden and Solihull East. We have almost 40 local pubs, which support 1,740 jobs. Of their cohort, there are 500 16 to 24-year-olds working in the sector, and that has an overall contribution of £61 million to the local economy. In the wider West Midlands, there are over 4,000 rural pubs, which employ 88,000 people, contributing £2.9 billion to the economy. But aside from the huge economic impact of these pubs, they are also vital parts of the fabric of our rural communities. They provide food and drink, places to stay, and some of our historic pubs span back centuries, truly making them part of our great and unique British history. Yes.
I congratulate the honourable gentleman on this debate and thank him very much for letting me intervene. I, as everybody knows, represent the most beautiful constituency in the United Kingdom. and pubs, as the honourable gentleman was saying, it's not just about food and drink, it's also about where people can go to socialise, and it's a great thing for people who are lonely. And I'd just like to mention one particular establishment in my constituency, which is the Butcher's Arms in Carhampton. It reopened in January, and they now have a library, a shop, and I'm sure he'd agree that's a very, very good situation to be in.
I thank the honourable member for her intervention, but I should say I think we should have a rule in this House that when a member says they have the best constituency, they owe everyone a pint. I could get used to this popularity, Madam Chair. But let me say this. I will come on to this, but she's absolutely correct because, and I will come on to the social value of the meeting place. But when people think of Britain, they of course think of our iconic landmarks like Buckingham Palace or Big Ben, but they also think about our red post boxes or our black cabs, and they think about our rural pubs. It's our truly unique rural pubs, which are the pillars of our local communities, serving as meeting points for our old friends, destinations for wedding receptions, and hubs for our community. Absolutely.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way, but does he also recognise that for many rural locations, that rural pub is the last standing business in the village? It is the post office, it's the village stores, it's probably the job club, the parent and child club, the club for the elderly and lonely, and I've even seen with Pub is the Hub a barber's in the lounge of a pub that cuts people's hair during the day and then serves them drinks in the evening. So does my honourable friend agree that when government imposes extra fiscal pressures on pubs, actually what it is losing is probably worth far, far more than the revenue it thinks it is gaining?
I couldn't agree more with my honourable friend, and actually that is exactly why we're here today, because I'm really concerned about the core of our communities being hollowed out by government interventions. For elderly people in particular, good pub lunch, which serves great drinks and warm food, can be a staple in their weekly routine. It is therefore no wonder that 2/3 of adults believe their local pub is vital to combating loneliness and social isolation. So I gently say, on the back of that intervention, to the Minister, if we lose a rural pub, does he recognise that that has a huge impact on our rural communities? Where are those people meant to go? Dr. Thomas Thurnell-Reid from Loughborough University has conducted some fascinating research into the social value of pubs in local communities. The project looked at the impact of pub closures on communities and made very clear that the loss of a pub, as my honourable friend has said, is so much more than just the loss of a business. Dr. Thurnell-Reid made clear that closing pubs echoes throughout the entire community, impacting friendships, identities and vital local support networks in ways that cannot be captured by data alone. As traditional community infrastructure like banks, like village halls, post offices also come under pressure, pubs are more important than ever, important anchors in our rural communities. For rural areas, some pubs now act as more than just a place to meet and socialise. They have essential services such as micro post offices, prescription drop-offs, Wi-Fi hubs, and as my honourable friends set out, barbers and even house part-time library shelves. Research from the Rural Services Network has also found that for every £1 spent investing in the provision of services and activities in the pub, an average of £8.28 of social value is created. It examined that the diverse new services pubs offer in local communities have lasting positive impacts on the overall well-being for individuals and their families, as well as in reducing loneliness, improving mental health and giving people greater independence. So, Madam Chair, having spoken at great length about the value and importance of rural pubs, I'm really concerned about the government's intervention and the lack of support for this vital industry. Some of our best pubs are in the Chancellor's crosshairs. Labour has hit rural pubs with increased taxes, a litany of new burdensome legislation that is killing them off. The pub and the brewing sector is among the most highly taxed of any business sector, with around £1 in every £3 spent in the pub going back to HMRC. One of the most egregious taxes is the government's national insurance raid on our businesses. Having spoken with representatives from the UK's beer and pub sector, there is no doubt that Labour's rise in national insurance has had a huge impact on rural pubs. Just last week, Simon Emeny, the chairman of Fuller's, said that pubs are facing an unprecedented pressure from Labour's tax rises. The lowering of the lowering of the national insurance threshold has had a deep impact on publicans, given the nature of pub work. Pubs are one of the major employers of young people. The sector employs 58% of people on a part-time basis, which means lowering the threshold has forced pubs to reconsider their hiring practices. I will.
Adam Dance.
Thank you, honourable member, for giving way. The concerns you're making about taxes has really affected Jack, who is the owner of the Poppin in Tapworth, and Buddy, the owner of the Flying Fish. Do you also agree we need to lower VAT? Does the honourable member also agree we need to lower VAT for pubs?
I think the honourable member makes an interesting point, and I think where publicans have spoken to me about taxes, they talk to me now about their turnover either increasing or staying stable, but it's the costs that have gone up. And I think the government has to set out what they're going to do to improve the fiscal landscape for pubs and the hospitality industry more broadly. Madam Chair, lots of course has been made of Lord Milburn's report on NEETs, who are those not in education, employment or training, and the rising number of 16 to 24-year-olds that are in this category. But I wonder if the Minister has considered the impact of these tax rises on pub-specific jobs. This is because around 51% of people working in the pubs are under the age of 24, meaning many are likely to be balancing work in the pub with other part-time commitments like school or university. These new employment costs mean that publicans will think again about hiring staff on a part-time basis, driving many people into worklessness. And the national insurance rise has single-handedly had the most damaging effect on the Saturday job. I also want to just talk about business rates, because in addition to a crippling jobs tax, pubs are also suffering because of stifling increases in business rates. These policies threaten to be a huge nail, maybe even the final nail in the coffin for many pubs that are really struggling. Analysis from UK Hospitality has found that by 27-28, the average pub's business rates will be £4,500 higher than today, rising to an astonishing £12,900 within 3 years, even with the reduced multiplier and transitional relief. I asked one of my staff members how much they paid for a pint of beer in one of the pubs in my constituency, and they said a pint of lager came to £7.50. That means that pub would have to sell an extra 1,720 pints just to offset the cost of these shocking tax increases. The Conservatives recognise the value of our pubs. We pledged to scrap business rates for 250,000 retail, hospitality and leisure businesses by 100%. This is because we recognise the importance of ensuring businesses keep more of what they earn, allowing them to invest in the community rather than sending it back to central government. And I say to the Minister, governments do not create growth, they do not create jobs, it's our businesses that do. This announcement formed part of our larger campaign to get Britain working again, freeing up money for businesses to hire new people, often younger and always local. It will drive new jobs and economic growth across rural areas in the UK. But building on this, last month the Telegraph also revealed that landlords will be hit with a new nice pub tax under new guidelines. It found that the HMRC has ordered officials to levy higher business rates on pubs that are in attractive locations or are based in character properties. This is a complete disaster and could mean many pubs are forced to... Absolutely, good question.
I think it's really important to note that that article by the Telegraph talking about the rural pubs changes was about the fact that we published, in full transparency, the guidance used to value pubs that was signed off under the previous government. This government has said that we're cutting pubs' business rates by 15% this year. We're freezing them for the next 2 years, and we are reviewing that very guidance. So I would encourage all members on all sides, and I understand why, we do respect the press, but that was fake news, and I don't think it should be repeated in this place.
Madam Chair, I love the passion from the Minister, but I haven't finished yet, and I would encourage him. I would encourage him.
Sure that we all understand that there are lots of members who want to speak. If we are starting to debate already with the Minister now, then we are losing time. Please respect, and also could I encourage you to come to the end of your speech.
I will speed up, Madam Chair, under your guidance, but I would encourage him to wait till I finish, because it is actually the litany of regulation, such as in the Employment Rights Bill, the taxes that they've raised, that has had a huge impact. And I would say that Labour is waging a war on our rural pubs. Those publicans can feel it. We can all see it. And, Madam Chair, with your guidance, I will bring my comments to a quick close, but I know we're all looking forward to England's first World Cup game against Croatia this evening, and obviously, along with all members, I wish them all the very best, but we do have some of the highest alcohol duty on a pint of beer, and while I don't want to broach the subject of the EU, but I will say, while I'm not a natural fan of closer alignment, it seems that Europe is in a better place on this, so I certainly ask the Minister to comment on that. I will, in conclusion, Madam Deputy Speaker, as I've said, these pubs are Madam Chair. Hopefully one day, Madam Deputy Speaker. I say to the Minister, there is a huge impact of the litany of measures taken by this government. It's impacting our young people, it's affecting Saturday jobs, it's having a huge impact. I encourage him, that passion he's shown, I encourage him to show that bravery today. So perhaps maybe those England fans will be chanting his name tonight, but he has to show that bravery. Thank you, Madam Chair.